Hello. Hi. Hi again. Welcome to another TCK Gets Real video. I'm trying to stick to my word and make one of these every week for the next few weeks or so, touching on different topics. And today's topic is going to be Forever. Forever being the album that I just released about a week ago. I'd like to begin by sharing with you how it kind of started, and that's why I'm sitting here today in front of my piano. This is a Yamaha piano that was made in sometime in the 1960s in Japan. And the way this got into my home here in Thailand is that it was transported from Japan to Thailand to be sold at a second-hand shop. Now, all across Thailand, you may find various second-hand shops, mostly with goods being imported from Japan. And you can find all sorts of nice, fun little things at these places, like dolls or sporting goods and furniture. Furniture is quite popular here. One day that I was at the second-hand shop, I came across this thing here, this piano, and it was the first time I'd seen a piano at the second-hand shop. Now, I'd already purchased a couple different instruments from the shop beforehand, such as a harmonica and a pianica, which, incidentally, were used for my last album, Before Forever. And I came across this piano here, and I decided to buy it. I've never been formally trained on a piano. I have played a piano before, obviously. I've enjoyed playing the piano before. Even written songs on a piano and a keyboard before. And so I wouldn't say I was amazing or I even am amazing at playing the piano, but with a lot of practice and work and over time I started to make some music, just sort of trying to come up with different ideas and then trying to make a melody on top of it. Kicking ball, my car, feel it in my heart, soaring in the seas, thumping in the breeze, wanted to be on, singing on my heart, I'm feeling it on myself, coming myself. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but when I was singing, I really wasn't singing anything coherent. These are just sort of the words that come to my head when I come up with a melody for a song initially. And so as I came up with different things, different sort of ditties like that, and then I would expand on them, add different parts to it. So I would work on my music like this quite often. Eventually, after the months passed, I would have a bunch of songs. And one of the songs that I have on the album is actually a song that I wrote a long time ago when I was much younger. And it was the, how does it go? In the Arms of God. That's actually a very old song that I even recorded before. I think it's the very first video that I ever uploaded on YouTube. That video was a music video for In the Arms of God. And when I approached making another album on the piano, I decided that I wanted to have that song on the album. So I kind of remade the song somewhat. Made it in a new way. Gave it a new birth, if you will. It's the second birth of this song. And it may have a third birth. That's funny because it refers to one of the lyrics in the song. Anyway, so that song, along with the song Runaway, are both older songs that I decided to remake for the piano. And the other 10 songs on the album are completely new songs written from scratch on the piano. And when I first decided I'm going to record an album, I started asking how am I going to record an album on the piano? I'd never done that before, let alone, written a bunch of songs on the piano. and it was a challenge that I figured I'm going to need to figure out if I want to do this. And so at the time I had one microphone that I used on the previous album, Soul's Intricate Road Trip, and it's a Shure, can you see that? It's a Shure microphone. It's the Beta 58A, and this microphone is really, it's a directional microphone, so you have to sing into the microphone and not sing from too far away. And it's really good at recording instruments up close. Like if you want the ukulele to be recorded on this, you gotta get it right nice and close and then record in front of the microphone. Same with the vocals. And this is the microphone that I had, and it's not exactly ideal for recording piano. What you want to do with the piano is you want to be able to record with two microphones, ideally, one in the lower register, one in the higher register. And for me, it wasn't enough to just record the piano as I played, but also wanted to record my voice at the same time. So I would have wanted to have this set up, recording, and then two other microphones recording the piano at the same time. And I wanted to record it like a jam, I want it to feel like it feels like when I'm jamming, because there's a certain energy that you get when you're singing and playing at the same time. It's a different kind of energy than if you're just recording tracks separately. It's a very different energy, different sound. Sometimes you can get into almost a different mode. You're really into it. Your body is playing, and your voice is producing the sound at the same time. It creates a different effect, and I wanted to reproduce that effect. It's an effect I have never really been able to reproduce in my recordings. I've always recorded, say, an instrument one at a time, vocals one at a time. Nothing quite like what I wanted to do. But there was a problem with what I wanted to do, was that it would have been very expensive to do. And I looked into prices of microphones for recording pianos, and I looked into what kind of quality recording you might expect from recording on an old 1960s Yamaha, which, to be honest, needs to be tuned and sort of given some love to have a better sound. And even then, it would not be the best piano to record on, since it's an upright piano. Classical pianos are much better for recording. So I was thinking about using a digital piano, which is a piano. It's not the same as a keyboard. It's like a mix between a keyboard and a piano. It's a keyboard that's meant to replicate the sound and feel of the piano. The thing with a keyboard is, usually when you hit the key on the keyboard, you'll get the same strength, the same volume of sound. There may be one or maybe two, maybe more than that on a keyboard, but usually it's difficult to get something like, where it's like loud, soft, loud, soft, loud, soft, in a sort of very organic way to do that on a keyboard. So what a digital piano allows you to do is it allows you to replicate that a lot better than a normal keyboard might. But at the same time, usually it's limited to, say, 4 settings of pressure points. So you could get like a very quiet, and then a medium, and then a loud, and then you might have like 4 modes. And even with 4 or 5 different modes of volume, it's still very difficult to reproduce a sort of organic sound that I wanted to get on this album, that I can get from a piano. And so, mostly for that reason, and also because of the price of a digital piano, and having made all my music on this piano and feeling almost close to it in a way, I decided I couldn't go the route of a digital piano, of a new instrument, and worried about some of the challenges that might have brought on as well. Even though I could have recorded it in a way, and that would have been much easier to record than this, and maybe much nicer, cleaner sound than what I would be able to do with a piano like this. So I have the microphone, and what I did was took this microphone, and I'm going to take you with me. Got some hand sanitizer. I'm sure you guys know what that's for. For cleaning your hands. That's what hand sanitizer is for. It's not hand lotion. So basically, I know what I talked about in my last video now. Basically, we would take this microphone and put a pillow on top of the piano, and then I let the microphone hang down into the piano like so. And I recorded all of the piano tracks like that. So I had my songs. I knew how I was going to record, so how did I start? Well, I just went ahead and started by recording the piano tracks, and I decided I'm going to make a demo so I can listen to it and then maybe later iterate on the demo. And that's what I did. I made a demo, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I had a friend work with me on this, on any capacity. Like, it didn't matter what they'd be doing, but just any type of capacity, even just sort of like advisory capacity or something. So I was speaking to a friend that I knew from Thailand, no longer living in Thailand, and he sounded pretty gung-ho on working on this project with me. And I let him know, like, you know, any capacity, but he's a talented guitarist and a musician, so I was kind of hoping he would come up with some guitar parts for the songs. And long story short, he did not produce anything for a long period of time. I prodded him about this, and then he basically reneged on doing anything, which was upsetting, but I'm not going to dwell on that in this video. I want to keep this video upbeat and positive. So after that, I decided, I waited a long time for him to come up with anything, and I said, I'm not going to tarry anymore. I'm going to work on this and keep working on it. So I took those demos, I iterated on them somewhat. I practiced the piano a lot so I could record it in a way that sounded as natural as possible. I'm not talented. I'm sort of the person who has a hard time being consistent with anything, like even like with writing or with music. And there's a thing about like consistencies. I think different people have. I think it's an ability to be consistent, or just a trait of a person. And it can be great being consistent when you're trying to play something perfectly, like a concert pianist. But if you're a songwriter like me, it maybe pays more to be less consistent. And what I mean by that is there's sometimes when I'm making music or making a song and I'll make a mistake. Then I'll make that mistake and then I'll listen to it and I'll make the same mistake again. I'll be like, ooh, maybe if I made this mistake in this way, it will actually sound interesting. Or the little mistakes that I make can sort of push the song into a different territory or have a new part based on a mistake that I've made. And it kind of helps with creativity a lot. Alright, so it was time to record the piano parts, and to do this I had to record the song from beginning to end and hope not to make any mistakes. But as inconsistent of a player as I am, to do something like that was, well, next to impossible. So to try and mitigate some of that, those errors that I would make playing the piano, I would actually do 3 takes of the piano, and then I would put them 3 takes on the computer. I would find the best one, but then if there were still any problems in the best one, I could find a similar part in one of the other recordings, and if it was better recorded, then I would sort of splice that in instead of the other part. So there was a little bit of editing here at this point. And after recording the piano, I decided to add beats, usually just kick and snare. And to do that, I would actually turn my keyboard, typing keyboard, into a MIDI keyboard. So the F and the D key, the F would be the kick and the D would be the snare, something like that. And then I would doom doom ch doom doom ch doom doom, and then I would record it on top of the song as it was playing. And after recording it, uh, obviously I couldn't quantize it because it's not set to a specific tempo, and the tempo is actually dynamic throughout a song. So I can't, for the life of me, hit keys on a keyboard perfectly in time with my music. So there was also some work to be done there to sort of make sure that all of the presses were aligned correctly, and also in case I wanted to change something, I could change things by just sort of moving or pasting a kick here or pasting a snare there, so I could do like a snare roll. I can't do a snare roll on a keyboard, so to reproduce sort of a snare roll sound, I would have to sort of input one little snare right like next to each other in the program. And after I did that, it was time to record the vocals, the primary melody, and to do that, I had to. I did all in one day. I did 3 takes for each song, and I completed it in the span of a single recording session, which was a pretty mammoth and enjoyable recording session. The act of recording something is actually pretty fun, pretty satisfying. It really gives you a good feeling in your head. But the act of then sitting down and editing and choosing the best parts and making sure everything's in the right place, that is more like work. It's not as creative. It's polishing. It's editing. So there was this sort of back and forth. There's the writing and creating process. It's really fun. Then there's the editing process, which is boring and not as fun. So this album actually took the longest for me to make of any album, I would say. Longest span of time. Not sure in terms of hours or man hours that's the case. Yeah, probably is the case. Anyway, I'm moving along way too slowly, aren't I? After doing the vocals, it came time to do the bass guitar. And for the bass guitar, I wasn't going to improvise bass guitar parts, as I may have in the past. Decided that I'm going to actually compose bass parts and practice them, iterate on them, practice them again, to get the best bass guitar parts that I could possibly create. And this was the first time in a long time that I would actually take out a bass guitar and play it, and that in itself was pretty exciting to me. And even to this day, my namesake, I still love to play bass guitar, and I'm still thinking that maybe one of these days I'll go back to my roots and just write songs on the bass guitar and have a bass guitar based album, like my first album. And so after doing that, now that took about 2-3 months to complete itself, because I was really practicing and making sure it was going to sound as good as possible. And after doing that, then came the backing vocals and the extra percussion instruments, the shaker and the tambourine in most parts. Although one of the songs uses clapping and another song uses baby plastic tambourine, and another song uses actually muted string strumming on a ukulele, because I wanted to bring in the ukulele, give it a cameo of sorts, and so I did that on the Hey 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 song. And after doing those, that part was actually really fun, because I did improvise those parts on the spot. When I decided I'm going to record those things one song at a time, and each week I would do a different song. And so I would do one song one week, and I would listen to it, and then I would try to sing, and then try to think of a nice harmony to it on the spot. And then when I thought of it, then I would get the microphone, okay, let's record it. And I would record the harmony part, then I would stop and listen to the next part of the song, and oh, that would sound nice like this note here, okay. Then I would record it, and sort of piece by piece moving forward, that's how I would get to finish it. So then, after I recorded the backing vocals, the harmonies, and the other percussion parts, I edited it all down, mastered it, and it was thankfully all ready and complete by the time my birthday came around. And I do have some thanks to give to some people who were instrumental in helping me get to this point of completing the album. Notably, my brother Jordan, who took on kind of an advisory role. He kind of inspired me to change one of the drum sounds from another one that I decided to make changes to the drum sound, the snare kick that I was using, on account that he felt it sounded a bit too synthetic. And I agreed with him after, he made his point, so I gave it more of an organic sound to it. And then I would also like to thank my mother, to whom I was hoping would get to hear the whole album once it was complete. I was hoping that would happen, that she would have a chance to just have the whole album to listen to beginning to end. That experience, to me, is a great experience. I remember when I would get a new album from one of the bands that I loved growing up, and being able to just listen to it from beginning to end, just have every song one after the other, kind of being able to ingest them. And I loved having that experience, rather than sort of being fed one song a week, one song a month, one song this one after this one. It's a completely different experience than having the whole album. But what happened was, my mother, she became ill during the virus thing, and she's living overseas in France, and I became very worried about her. And she had some symptoms like fever and coughing and sore throat and a headache, and so I was very worried about her. But this was before a lot of countries started enacting really strict measures, before like lots of people, died from it. But it was still a time when we were really worried about it. And so in that moment that I was really worried about her and that her health could deteriorate like that, I decided I wanted to share the album as it was at the time. Not complete. It still needed to have some songs didn't have backing vocals yet. Some songs didn't have the shaker, the extra percussion on them. So I did share it with her before it was all complete, so that she would have a chance to hear it should anything happen to her. Thankfully, she made a full recovery soon afterwards, and she was also supporting me to finish the album. And after I finished the album, she was very supportive and of just everything. And if I didn't have my mother supporting me, it would be a lot harder to remain positive and remain upbeat, even in the face of, say, to some degree, not reaching having an audience for my music that I'd like to have, or to have kind of maybe even a means to somewhat support myself through what I love to do the most, which is make music, which is always felt like has been my purpose in life. It's the closest thing that I have to having a purpose. And so I would like to thank those two people particularly for their support and helping me make this album. It was not an easy album to make. It took a lot of work. A lot of aspects to it were new, such as playing the piano. And in addition, I have to say that some of the songs dived into some deeper, darker territory that was kind of painful to tread or retread. And some of the personal nature of this album, being quite personal in nature, meant that as I was making it, those feelings were part of me for a long time, for a long period of time. And those feelings were kind of feelings that, if allowed to consume me, can cause some pretty deep pain. And as I grow older, I find ways to avoid it. I like to say it's kind of like avoiding the truth, because the truth is quite dark. And I think I maybe tend not to be the most positive of people in life. although I try to remain positive even when things appear to be terrible. But this album was willing to allow me to have those feelings that were not good to feel. It allowed me to go there again, as difficult as it was, and perhaps I may never be able to make an album that's that personal to me ever again, that's truthful again. And I think that's a bit of a shame, because I think when I was growing up, the music that had a lot of truth and a lot of raw, true emotion was the kind of music that really was attractive to me, that I was attracted to. And I have to accept that as I grow older, I just don't have the energy, the mental capacity to withstand those kinds of feelings. And I'm going to have to let myself sort of drift back into the cave, let myself slowly sort of cover my eyes a bit more and a bit more, so it's almost kind of like a means of survival. I think it's a way of coping, even though ultimately I think it's not to our benefit to hide from the truth. I think ultimately it leads to worse. But I can't take it, at least not on my own. And I feel very alone when I try to speak what's really inside me, what those real emotions are that are inside me. I feel really alone. And a lot of times I feel that no one wants to relate to that, or no one wants to take sort of the energy or the time to really introspect and ask themselves the same questions I'm asking myself in these songs. It might be painful for them to go there, and that's where this music might take them. So I understand. But that's the story. That's the story of Forever. I'm very proud of it. It's probably going to be my last album for a long time, and I would love it if you gave it a listen. Right now, you can download it for free. You can download it from my Bandcamp page. Just click the buy button, and then it will take you to a page where you can input the price that you want to pay. So if you want to pay $0, input 0, and you can get it for free. Now you will be asked to give your email address, but I'm not asking for your email address so that I can spam you. I'm asking for it just so that I can show you my appreciation through a personal email, to show you that I appreciate that you've taken the time to show some support for my life's purpose, basically. And I would also have to ask you to subscribe to my page, please, if you can. Hit the notification button, which will help you know when I make another video like this, another TCK vlog. And I'm going to wish you a good time, good day, good one. And goodbye. See ya.